Romans used to celebrate death. For them, it was the change from terrenal and material life to the other life, and that needed to be celebrated and cried at the same time. Rituals started with the exposition of the corpse in their own houses, after cleaning, dressing, and perfuming the dead body. These actions were an expression of pity and ingenuity. Then the funeral started. The first process was the conclamatio, that consisted in calling the name of the fallen 3 times to check if he was really dead. In second place, the master of ceremonies or a familiar proceeded to open the eyes of the deceased to show him the sky. They also introduced a coin inside their mouth or their hand to pay the boatman called Caronte. The reason for this was that Romans believed that Caronte was the boatman or ferryman of Hades, the god of the underworld, and Caronte was who transported the people who have recently died to the other life, to the world of the dead. And the coin was his payment. The humatio was effectuated now, and thus was thrown into the body of the deceased, even if it was going to be cremated or inhumated. Another particular thing were funeral masks. They were made of wax and they represented the face of the deceased. They were worn by familiars or even actors during the funeral, and it was a sign of honorability and respect. The night after the funeral, the guests went in a procession to the necropolis. These ceremonies used to last up to 9 days, and one of the last steps was to celebrate a big feast where even the deceased participated.
Finally, when rituals ended, the family started to do it during a period of time that changed depending on the gender, proximity, and relationship with the deceased. Familiars visited from time to time the tombs of their beloved ones, setting flowers or other ashes. By setting these flowers or other ashes, they were looking for the protections of the gods to their familiars and for the rest of their souls, to avoid the corruption of the souls, because they still believed that the soul is still alive in the underworld. If the family was rich, they paid musicians and even mourning women, who were ladies who came to the tomb and cried, and a herald, the person who screamed the news out loud in the street, proclaimed the ceremony publicly. It was very different for poor people. They were thrown into pits and left to decompose and cremated in those same pits. The people in charge of doing these processes were called necrophoros. And these people related to the industry of death were considered marginal. They couldn't participate in society and couldn't live outside in the city.
Now I'm going to explain the separation law, because Romans didn't always bury their deaths in the necropolis, and the necropolis weren't always at the sides of the city. In the 5th century before Christ, Romans stopped burying their deaths inside their house, and instead they brought the necropolis outside the cities by a law that is called the separation law. Romans related death with pollution, not only material but spiritual as well. And this is the reason of why their deaths were buried outside the walls of the city in the necropolis.
Now we are going to talk about the Roman mausoleum of Córdoba. The nobility hide their tombs in both sides of the roads that assist to the city. An example is the Roman mausoleum of Córdoba. This building was built around the 1st century, but was discovered in 1933. The majority had to be reconstructed, and only some parts are original, like this. Based on the size of the building and its location next to the walls of the city, we can say that the building was property for each family. Because in this period, the proximity between the mausoleum and the city means a wealthier family status. Probably the mausoleum belongs to the pater familias, and exists another one, similar to the one conserved, that was property of the rest of his family. Unfortunately, it was impossible to build it again. now we are going to talk about Almodóvar's Gate, which is the one behind us. It has Arabic origin. At first, it was named Nogal or Badajoz Gate, and it's one of the 3 gates that stand still in Córdoba.
The actual gate has 2 towers connected by an arch. During the 19th century, this arch was covered by a wall in which a gate was placed. It is located in the city center of Córdoba, next to Cruz Roja, and in one of the most popular streets of the Juderia. And in the outsides of the gate, during the 50s, gardens were set where a statue of the philosopher Seneca is. Seneca was a philosopher, politician, and Roman writer known for his moral works. He was quaestor, praetor, and senator of the Roman Empire during the leaderships of Tiberio, Caligula, Claudio, and Neron. He was really important in politics and was considered one of the greatest senators of all time. Because of that, he had enemies, people who were against him, and allies, people who supported him. He became the biggest figure of Roman Stoicism and moralism after the Republic had disappeared, because at that time, Roman society had lost its values and it became materialistic and non-ethical.
He was influenced by Neron. Seneca took philosophical ways of thinking and used them in a legal framework. Their principles were living honestly, not hurting others, and giving everyone what they deserve, which were moral and legal. The books written by Seneca can be divided in 4 types: moral dialogues, letters, epigrams, and tragedies. He didn't write any completely philosophical book, but his moral thoughts are expressed among all his documents. Finally, he was accused of conspiring against Neron, even if they didn't have any clues. Because of that, he was condemned to death. Not being able to deal with this situation, he committed suicide. We are here to talk about the Roman wall, the citizenship, and ancient philosophy. Córdoba's wall has a really long history, almost as extended as the city itself. Christians, Arabians, and Romans wanted to protect the city from possible invasions. But since the 19th century, the wall lost its original utility, which was military and border control. We have to imagine a different version of Córdoba to understand how the wall was built. The city was placed on an elevated hill, and from the north and west of this hill, different small rivers went down from Córdoba's south, which made the city owner of lots of ups and downs.
This wall was built between 169 and 155 before Christ, when Roman legions were fighting against Carthaginians. As a result, this wall had a symbolic and a defensive aspect. It would stop Carthaginians from entering the city, and it would also separate Córdoba from the necropolis outside. To build this wall, Romans used a similar structure as the one they used in Rome. It would have stone fences from 4 to 5 meters wide, which were made of stone and some other materials. It would also have a contention wall of about a meter wide and different towers, which were square, circular, and octagonal. It had several gates, and this is one of them. Córdoba's wall has gone through different periods. First of all, it was a Roman wall, which was about 2,600 meters long. And during the leadership of Tiberio, it was made bigger until it reached the river.
After that, during the Muslim periods, Roman walls were in really bad conditions. A new wall was built to protect the houses outside, so it was divided in 2 parts: Medina, the old wall, and Acerquia, the new one. The last phase was set when the Christians conquered the city. In the 14th century, new parts of the wall were built.